we are going to immerse in discussions about research, innovation, and more, with our theme, Research, Innovation, and Artificial Intelligence for Africa's Transformation. To kick off our discussion today, we are going to first have a presentation from Astro Learning, briefly, and then later, we shall have a panel discussion. So let's join our hands to invite our members from Astro Learning to come and give their presentation. You're welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. This presentation was supposed to do pre-signing, but I'm glad that we're all back. So I want to start by thanking you all for being here and for inviting Astro Learning to be a part of this incredible event. And we're proud to say that we will find ways to continue collaborating with the ARUA team. As you all know, AI is a key word for this theme. And what we see is a huge wave coming ahead of us. And this wave basically is mainly because every single day, 80,000 people in Africa turn 18. 80,000. Now, that's enough to fill out the stadium in the MSU. They have the Spartan Stadium. It's big enough to fill out the stadium. So I mean, every single day, 80,000 people turn 18 in the region. And we have a capacity crisis because the enrollment rate in the region is about 9%. 9% enrollment rate versus 38% global average, right? And a lot of institutions such as Makerere, they're turning away students. Lots of students, thousands of students are being turned away, not due to lack of talent, but due to lack of capacity. Right now, if you look at all the numbers of all possible seats available in Africa, the number is about 9 million seats in terms of capacity. And you see, there's a wave of youth coming, and that number is going to go from 9 million seats that are needed to about 50 million seats, right? That's a 5.5x opportunity. And we also see a huge postgraduate gap. Matter of fact, the region has less than 1%. The actual number is 0.8% of people with postgraduate degree in the region, right? And the African Union basically set a goal to educate about 1 million new PhDs by 2035, which I believe is definitely realistic considering the population. And what's making this a hurdle for a lot of us here is that in order for us to seat or fill all those seats, there's a $500 billion investment that is required to create enough universities in terms of walls to feed that demand. So the partnership we just signed with Makerere University, this MOU we just signed, is designed strategically to launch an AI-powered e-campus. It's going to expand continental access and bridge the PhD gap because our goal is to focus primarily on postgraduate students. And it's going to allow us to also digitize the life cycle and incorporate AI into the education space. So the challenge we're solving right now is overcrowded campuses. We have faculty to student ratio about 1 to 40, which basically compromise the quality of mentorship we can offer to our postgraduate students. And the administrative inefficiencies in terms of manual processes slow the progression of students. Students are taking a lot longer to graduate than they normally should be compared to, let's say, in North America. And then there's a weak digital infrastructure, which I think a lot of money is being poured in right now, as mentioned by the minister, to fix that. So what we're doing, we're bringing our technology stack. As I mentioned in the beginning, we're a software development company by nature, even though we're shifting into the eCampus partnership model as a new business. But we're bringing 6 new tools to help manage this eCampus. The first one is our AI-powered learning management system. I think many institutions here are using Moodle, but we have our own proprietary tool that we're basically, about a year ago, we started creating AI tools in terms of course creation, in terms of grading, and even student retention. So we have a retention tracking tool that can tell us if the student is at risk to kind of create initiatives to make sure we can save them. So we see success in terms of graduation goes up by about 24%. We have an AI help desk. When we launched this under our learning LLM, the ticket basically, if you have an inquiry, student support, it handles it for you directly using AI. And if it cannot answer your questions, it escalated to an actual human being. We have the Proctor Shield. We just bought this company basically called Proctor Shield, and we basically incorporate that into our stack. We have an AI plagiarism checker. I think many of you professors here are seeing your students are suddenly becoming the brightest thesis submitters, right? I've seen this issue across board. The quality of thesis has gone up drastically because of AI. So how do you fight this? So we have an AI plagiarism checker to help this take care of this. We have the AI powered digital library. We have millions of resources. It does summarization, references, etc. And of course, we have a compass management system that we use for self-servicing for admissions, record, and of course, payments. The whole point is the entire life cycle of the student will be managed by AI, from the marketing to the curriculum delivery, the admissions, student support, and digital delivery. So why does AI matter? I think this room is probably the best room to ask this question because each and every one of us here has some sort of rapport with the technology. And in one way or another, we want to interact with it, whether it's for research or whether it's for some other ventures. So we believe for us, it removes scalability limits because right now, my team can handle a lot more people without having to hire more people. But you can actually compensate them a lot better because they're doing more with less time and they're able to actually focus their energy more in terms of just doing things just to rush it. And it also empowers faculties. I think faculties now can able to grade. The same way students can use AI to submit great thesis or dissertations, you can also use it as a tool to check and give feedback in real time. So you can actually take care of more students without losing quality. So we see a broader impact with this MOU. We see cross-border access. Makerere University will be able to reach students outside of Uganda now. It'll create innovation alignment with the African Union Agenda 2063. And there's knowledge sovereignty. Most of our data, everything is going to be staying here. Matter of fact, in 2 years, we're launching an AI-powered research center where we're going to put supercomputers here to ensure that we build an LLM that is made for Africa. So for me, I'm very excited about creating this kind of initiatives. And as for Makerere, we see a continental AI hub being developed here. And there's global visibility because now students, whether you're in Japan, Zambia, or South Africa, if you want to get a Makerere degree, you can now access this knowledge. So the foundation roadmap we have when we start with the team for Makerere, we have a 5-year roadmap from today. By next year, we hope to launch 1,000 postgraduate pilot. And by 2027, create the AI research lab that I mentioned earlier. And we want to scale up to about 10,000 postgraduate students by 2029. And 20,000 should be 2031 goal. These numbers are highly conservative numbers if you look at the number of students being turned away right now at Makerere University. So I believe the future is digital. Right now, there's the way that I mentioned earlier should not be scaring anyone here. It's actually an opportunity. So when there's a new technology, there's 2 things you do. You either allow the technology to consume you, or you leverage the technology to become a more efficient professional. And I believe the research revolution is happening. Right now, the contribution of research paper in the region is quite low. This will give a lot of researchers the capability to contribute to the rest of the world because I think there's a lot of geniuses that are not being voiced properly within Africa. So to conclude, I said, Africa's digital future will be built by its universities. That I'm convinced on. So I'm grateful that Makerere University gave us a platform to join this wonderful journey. I want to thank you all for your time and God bless you all. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Dr. Jeff Rhodes, Master of Learning. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are honored to be hosted by the African Research Universities Alliance, an organization committed to advancing research and higher education across the continent. So in the next few minutes, we are going to be immersed in a discussion of paramount importance, advancing responsible AI ecosystem in African higher education institutions. So allow me at this moment welcome the moderator of this session. He is the Vice Chancellor of Rhodes University and the Board Chair of African Research Universities Alliance, ARUA. He previously served as the Deputy Vice Chancellor and Student Affairs and Senior Lecturer at the University of Cape Town in Mathematics and Applied Mathematics. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Professor Sizwe Mabizela. Hope I pronounced that right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Colleagues, distinguished guests, we have to make up some time so that we are able to afford all the presenters an opportunity to present what they had prepared. We are all acutely aware of the rapid pace of technological advancement and the growing ubiquity of artificial intelligence in every sphere of life. And the acceleration of AI-driven innovation presents both immense opportunities and profound responsibilities for higher education and society at large. Our institutions of higher learning must not adopt these technologies in an uncritical manner, but must also help define frameworks for their just, inclusive, and sustainable application in service of humanity. This afternoon, we are privileged to have with us 4 distinguished leaders in higher education who will share their insights and perspectives on the topic, advancing responsible AI ecosystems in African higher education institutions. They will come on stage as I call their names. Professor Bolanle Oboh. Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, University of Choice and the Pride of the Nation. Professor Didas Muganga Kayihura, Vice Chancellor of the University of Rwanda. Professor Mosa Moshabela, Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Town. And Professor Denis Worlanyo Aheto, Professor of Coastal Ecology and Interdisciplinary Studies and Acting Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast. We should indicate that the Vice Chancellor of University of Mauritius couldn't be with us, but Professor Aheto very kindly agreed to step in. We really appreciate it. Colleagues, I'm not going to read their bio information. You have that. We really have to catch up on time. Each panelist will have a maximum of 10 minutes to present their perspectives. After all 4 of them have presented their perspectives, we'll have about 5 minutes of engagement. So whatever questions you may have, please just hang on to them until the end of the presentations. So let me start with Professor Oboh. Your 10 minutes starts now.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. The topic this afternoon is advancing responsible AI ecosystems in Africa's higher education institutions. We have had a lot this morning on what is happening on the African continent in general, with specific reference to what is happening here in Uganda. But as ARUA universities, how do we want to incorporate AI into higher education, especially since we have a teeming youth population and we need them to be able to catch up? I think one important thing that we need to look at is what are the capacities we have within our various universities, within our various regions. And this would lead to a lot of investment in big data centers, either within the country or within the nation, because we know that AI functions mainly on data. And in order to have this data, that means we need to have, and to have these AI centers, data centers, we definitely need to have GPU clusters, good internet infrastructure within our nations. And when we talk of good internet infrastructure, we find that most of our countries struggle with internet infrastructure as you move away from the big cities or the capital cities. So how do we have that basic internet infrastructure that would cover all communities? Because what AI needs to do, and from even what we have just listened to from Astral Learning, you can be in any place and be able to learn and have your education. Because with the various tools of AI, but if you are in a remote area and there is no internet, so the infrastructure needs to be developed. And that is why our universities and our governments must really come together to see how that can be done. Another thing that needs to be done apart from the capacity is intensive training, even of the educators. We find that for most of us over 40, it's a general use of ChatGPT, but AI is more than ChatGPT. AI is supposed to be a tool, a creative tool that will bring about innovations, and that has to be integrated into our curricula. Both data science and AI needs to be integrated into the curricula, even at the university level, so that the young ones will be able to use this creatively to innovate and solve problems for our communities, problems for our countries, and problems for our nation. So the key things that are needed is infrastructure. Infrastructure is key to be able, and we're at a point where Africa as a nation cannot lag behind. I remember in 2019 when we had this conference in Nairobi, we spoke about the fourth industrial revolution, and we spoke about Internet of Things. Yes, we know all the universities in the ARUA have been able to scale up and do quite a number of things. But we still need to be able to do more, to be able to have that impact within our communities, within the nations and the countries in which we represent. So training of educators, continuous training on the various AI tools and how we integrate it into our curricula at the university level will be key so that the young ones will be able to use it effectively. And there are a lot of AI open resources online. The Open AI Academy has just been launched. Astral Learning has spoken to us here. And so from all those, we will be able to learn that it is not only used for writing, it is not only used for checking what we have written to be proper, but we can also use it as we crawl and get data to innovate and find solutions, whether in agriculture, for precision agriculture, for smart agriculture. How do I dose my fertilizer on my crops so that they don't accumulate and so that I have a high yield? Those are some of the problems we have. We look at health. How do we solve the problems, the common problems in most African countries using AI of malaria? So those are the things that we should be using AI to do, and not just to be verifying and looking at what we have written, whether it's well written or not. So AI goes beyond what most of us do with ChatGPT. It goes into innovation, and to be able to do that, the infrastructure and the capacity of those that will be using these tools are key things that we must think about in higher education. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Oboh. Professor Kayihura.
Thank you so much, Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, AI. I think for the last, since last year, September, I think I've attended more than 13 conferences, all talking about AI. And indeed, it is worth it because I do believe that is taken, as for the time being, as a very serious threat, especially to those of us who are above 40. We are so much scared. But do we have any way out? AI is part of us. It was even part of us before we could even know that we are with it. Colleague here asked who amongst us here that doesn't use AI, and even those who volunteered, the two of us who, not me inclusive, those who said, yes, we don't, it was only because they don't know. Otherwise, we all have become, I don't want to say slaves of AI, but we are with AI. And so, as the theme is, we need to embrace it by all means. Even those of us who are traditionally IT illiterate, we have to find a way to adapt to that. And so for countries, before even we come to higher education, higher institutions, universities, we need to embrace AI as a country. And I will submit that back in Rwanda, it was thought to be a national concern. And so what was laid first was to look at the national policy for AI. It was put in place, I think it was 2023 in April. And after that, it has a number of recommendations, which are now said to be applied or implemented by different institutions. And there we come in as universities. Of course, one of the recommendations was to make it known. AI, people to get trained. And how would this be? My colleague talked about the infrastructure. Already we had that infrastructure laid, at least across the country. And now we came to be informed that AI is nothing more than data. And now we started seeing as a country, how can we hold our data, keep it, and be able to use it profitably and usefully. And now data centers were set up, and we are privileged at the University of Rwanda to be the host of data centers. And now later we were so lucky to establish an AI center, an AI lab, whose primary mandate, of course, is to support the economy, as Honourable Minister Guest of Honor alluded to. It is all about connecting it to economy. And the key pillars were education, of course, finance, agriculture, and health, if I remember very well. And how are those all going to be served? Again, it comes back to us as universities. For us to be able to serve to the satisfaction of those industries, we must be AI service. And this is going to be done by the universities. But beyond that, I do believe that universities, for them to be able to know, it's not just those who are into IT or those who take degrees for AI, but it's supposed to be across, like my colleague submitted, it is supposed to be integrated in all our programs. And more importantly, as I close for this first session, is that we want to see it as not just an isolated kind of discipline. AI, actually, we want to believe that AI, whatever AI does, is a mirror of what a human being would be doing. And if that is to be, then we need that human being to be a responsible and more ethical human being. And again, if that is to be, if we want to create that human being from universities and higher learning institutions, if we have to have that person, then we also have to invest a lot in the general education programs. What do I mean here? Those that are thought to be inferior. Nowadays, people talk about STEM, but we also have to emphasize more on these other general education programs, including courses like history, philosophy, logic, literature, creative programs like the ones we are seeing. Why? Because even that AI, for it to be a responsible AI and a responsible use of AI, we need to have created that human being that is really strong, that is going to mirror himself or herself into AI, because garbage in, garbage out. If we are not responsible as human beings, we are going to have AI that is irresponsible, that is unethical, that is going to create more havoc than, more problems than solutions. So we also need to blend that. AI, yes, as we say it is topical nowadays, as I earlier said, but we also need to create we don't need to get diverted in creating the other human being that is going to be the driver on real, the one who is going to be applying AI and using it as an enabler, not as something that is going to distract the human being. For now, I submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Kayihura. Professor Moshabela.
Thank you very much, Chair. I want to express my appreciation for the opportunity to be here and to share my thoughts. I think, like my colleague, my fellow VC here, I also find myself talking a lot about AI, even though I was never trained in AI and it's not my background. I'm not a computer scientist. And my director of the AI Institute is seated in the crowd when he should be sitting here talking about AI. But I think the reason it's important for university leaders, Chair, to think about this is because we make decisions that have an impact on a lot of people in our institutions, but in our sector as a whole. And it was put to me the question of, as the Vice Chancellor of UCT, what are you going to do given the fact that Africa is being left behind when the world is moving forward so quickly when it comes to AI and technology? And, in that moment, I'm tempted to say, look, I'll just let my researchers do what they need to do, but that's not going to be enough. We have a responsibility to our society. So that's what got me to start thinking a lot about this and talking to a lot of colleagues. And even as we were setting up our own AI institute at UCT, the question was, what contribution is this going to make? We can all have research centers, we can have AI institutes, scientists can do research, but to what end? And I think that's where this conversation is important, because I think we have to agree on what it is that we are trying to achieve and be explicit about it. One thing that worries me is the fact that AI, unlike other technologies, usually as universities and scientists, we tend to introduce technologies. We tend to have some control over how these things are introduced, and we ensure that there's regulations around them. But with products like AI, it's the other way around. It's accessible to the user before it's regulated. It's driven a lot by industry. Research, scientists are not really even involved in all of this. And that's why you have something in the market, and then you have to work backwards to say, actually, how are we going to deal with this or regulate this or manage this? So it's true that in all our daily lives, we are all using AI, whether you know it or not. And for that reason, the first basic thing we have to do is to make sure that every single person is trained in AI. Every single person. We can train people at different levels of knowledge. I'm not expecting that someone who is interested in social science high school, because we cannot leave AI to be the black box that it is in our society today when we are all consuming it. That for me is the first thing, which is why even in my university, we have taken a decision that every single person will be trained in AI. Students, staff, everybody has to be trained. And that for me, it's not even for debate. The second thing that I want to speak to is the fact that industry is driving AI, and it creates two problems. One is that there's a chance that all these products will be developed and services will be developed and they will not be accessible to many people, especially on the continent. So how do we make sure that the products are available to everyone on the continent? And that's where the issue of public good and the issue of justice becomes important. And for us on the continent, that matters to us. If we are not going to make a decision that we have to make sure that everyone is going to have access to the services, to the products at a price that they can afford, or even free where possible, then we are going to create the inequity where people on the continent are left behind when the rest of the world is moving forward. And that means that we must not just do applied work, we must also do fundamental work. We must be able to design tools that are relevant to us. The second thing that I think it's important here is that the data that is being used to train AI, it's going to be used based on the context in which it's being developed. These models are being tested. We are not going to have an opportunity to test these models and train them based on our own data. A good example is the fact that in Africa, we care about values, and if we are not going to train models that understand and can respond to our own African values, then we're not going to have products that suit our reality and our needs. And the final thing I just want to say is the issue of ethics and safety. There's a lot of risk when it comes to AI. AI can be used in ways that are harmful. We've seen, for example, how misinformation has been used, and AI can be a tool for that, especially when it comes to deepfake AI. So we then have to make a decision to say that we are going to guard the safety of AI, the governance of AI, the ethics of AI for a product that is already out there being used. But we've got to make sure that we achieve that. And that's why we've also launched an AI safety hub for including peace and security, because we want to link it to democracy on the continent. But really, it is about thinking about the different risks. When you talk about responsible AI, different risks that exist, so that while we exploit the opportunity that AI offers and the good and the benefits, at the same time, we are guarding against the harm. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Moshabela. The last input will come from Professor Aheto.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Chair. And I bring you greetings from the University of Cape Coast. And as my colleagues have said, I'm also very honored to be invited to speak to this issue. I think all that we are talking about is trying to harness the beneficial use of AI. Bear in mind that it also comes with quite some demerits. And as universities, it is important that we recognize the beneficial uses of AI, whilst also acknowledging the challenges that come with them. From where I sit, what I'm looking at is that in order for us to embrace AI within our universities, it is important to, first of all, look at or conduct some needs assessment or some value assessment within our university ecosystem. What I'm trying to say is that we need to review our activities across board, from administrative through to academic and other areas of our university environment, to be able to understand or document the AI initiatives that are already within the universities, the AI projects researchers who are there, the capacities that we have, those that we do not have. We need to have a comprehensive on-spot or on-site evaluation of our AI activities within our campus. Then the second thing that I think we need to do would be to come up with policies, because I do know that for the continent, most of us in the universities do not have policies when it comes to AI. I mean, even though many universities are taking steps to have the AI policies, we need to develop those policies, making sure that the policies align with our strategic plans and our visions of our universities. The third area that I'm looking at is on the basis of these two platforms or backgrounds, we then do a capacity assessment and training. We do training, and the training could take the forms of short courses, particularly for staff who will not have time to undertake long-term training in AI. Could be some short courses, hands-on training, skills development, and areas like that. And for the students, we look out for modalities of introducing AI in the curriculum for undergraduate and postgraduate students. Whichever way we do that, I think the focus must be that we make it cross-disciplinary, making sure that critical thinking and integration and responsible use of AI comes into our traditional programs. We need to find ways and means of merging AI into our traditional curriculum. We need to do a comprehensive curricular review, seeking accreditation for them, and then that those strategies will then position us. But then on the level of ARUA, what I'm thinking about is ARUA may want to consider setting up some centers of excellence in view of the huge costs. Colleagues have already mentioned infrastructure development, internet infrastructure, data centers, and these are really cost-intensive activities. ARUA universities may consider establishing 1 or 2 centers of excellence, one in the West and any other place, maybe the East or Northern part of Africa. And then we look at modalities for student and staff exchange in view of funding constraints that we do have. Yeah, so these are some areas that I'm thinking about for now. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Right. Colleagues, we have heard the presenters, and each one of them took far less than the 10 minutes allocated. So thank you so much. So we will have a brief discussion of about 5 minutes or so. So while you are thinking of the question that you want to raise, perhaps I should just make a bold statement that in my mind, human intelligence will always be far superior to artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Or put differently, artificial intelligence will never
Overtake.
go beyond human intelligence. After all, that artificial intelligence is developed by a human mind.
True.
The other bold statement which I want to make is simply that my greatest fear is that we might fall into the trap of thinking that technology in general and AI in particular will be a silver bullet to every challenge there is. And so that's why we need to focus on ethical, responsible, and appropriate use of technology in general and artificial intelligence in particular. So let's take about 5, 6 questions. And if you want to direct it to a specific person, do indicate so. You might not remember their names. We'll just simply start on the left, on your right, and say 1, 2, 3, 4. You might just say, I want to direct this to panel member number 4. Okay, yes. I saw one hand, yes. And so please don't preface your question with a long opening remark.
Thank you very much. My name is Michael. I'm from the University of Pretoria in South Africa. And actually now, coincidentally, I was discussing about this AI application, in Africa, even now globally. But there's something that we have to be careful of, or we should think about. When we look at the AI, and also now we look at critical thinking ability that we are supposed to develop in students, not even in students, let's say in researchers and some other things like that. And not only that, the human center engagement might be taken over or eroded away with the advent of this AI. Then the question is this to the panelists. I know you may not have the answer, but I think let's keep on thinking about that. How are we going to make sure that we effectively incorporate AI into our curriculum, into our research, without eroding or compromising this human-centered engagement and critical thinking ability that we are expected to develop in our students? Thank you very much.
Thank you. How do we responsibly incorporate technology and AI in our research, in our teaching, in all the activities without compromising the importance of the human dimension? So that's the first question. Just keep your thoughts on that and note it. Second one, yes? Yes, Shahid.
Hi, I'm Paula Sena. I'm the Director of the Office of Research Integrity at UCT. Easy question for any panelist. We already have a set of values-based frameworks in research integrity, in research ethics. Instead of reinventing the wheel to create frameworks for generative AI use, why don't we just repurpose some research integrity values, which will allow us to move ahead quickly with policy development and guidelines in a way that is responsive to our context and our needs? Thank you.
Thank you. How do we repurpose the values and integrity, and all of those things that you already have in research, I think? The next question, and that's the third one.
Yeah, Rashid Saraj from UM6P Morocco. Almost all the panelists have alluded to this important question, and I think it is the key one, of how Africa will move from just being user of AI to join actually the production of AI. And to me, something that I missed somehow in interventions is what will be the role of private sector, for instance. Any vision for this, of how the continent might be stepping in as a player, not only as a user of AI? Thank you.
How can the continent move beyond being a consumer or user of these and play a role in the development and advancement of these technological developments? Okay. Last two.
I'm standing here, sir.
Yeah, wait. Where's the phone? Go ahead. Okay.
So,
Manuel,
my name is Dante Esther from the University of Lagos, Nigeria. So my question is to the fourth panelist. Now, there's this issue about AI. I've always understood that AI is a tool that can be applied to any research or any discipline. And from his statement, he mentioned that there should be a center of excellence for AI. Now, the question is, to do what in specific? Then that's one. In Nigeria, the agency that regulates university newly proposed BSc in artificial intelligence. And then I began to query that. Why BSc in artificial intelligence? I thought, like the first panelist said, that we should, include this in all of our curriculum, which is okay. But I just want to know what's the difference between robotics, because we've been having AI even before we started hearing about all this propagation about AI. So why should we have BSc AI or have Center of Excellence in AI? Thank you.
Why should we have a Center of Excellence in AI?
AI, yes.
That's for panelist number 4. The last question.
Thank you. My name is Professor Veronica Babajide from University of Lagos, University of First Choice and the nation's pride. My question is to the first panelist. We all know that AI has come to stay, and we know the benefits and the all about. But my worries, and actually what's on ground in Nigeria specifically, in some Africa country, is the issue of infrastructure, on which power is a major factor, and internet connectivity. Consider remote, those of us in Lagos, Unilag is doing fine, we are happy there, but other remote areas where there is no power, there is no internet, how can AI be fully adopted? I conducted research, and the result I obtained is all about the issue of infrastructure, power, internet facilities, and so on.
Thank you very much. That was the last question. I know many of you would have loved to ask one, but someone from University of Lagos, University of Choice, and the nation's pride has closed that. So members, you each have about 2 minutes to respond, but let's start with a very specific question to Professor Aheto.
Yes. So thank you, Chair, and thank you for the questioner. Just going back on the points that I made, universities are supposed to be knowledge factories. And by so doing, we are not just, as was clearly pointed out, we are not training people just to be users of knowledge, but also producers of knowledge. If we want to scale up the capacities and skills in the development of AI tools, you need core centers and centers of competencies that will help train the critical mass of individuals, males and females, who will lead the capacity development for the continent. And that is why I was proposing that ARUA may want to consider the creation of a center of excellence. And as you rightly pointed out, AI is something that is used by everybody. But the use or usage of the AI far exceeds than those that use it, far exceed those that develop it on the continent. So the creation of centers of competencies, one or two, are strictly or should strictly be purposeful, targeted at developers of the AI tools. And that is what the angle that I was coming at.
Thank you.
I hope I'm clear with that.
Thank you very much, Mosa.
Thank you.
Sorry, Professor Moshabela.
Mosa is fine. So this conversation is like you're opening a can of worms, Chair, with all the questions that have been raised. I think let me start with Paula's question around values. I think values and ethics in their all diversity, personal values, moral values, social values, institutional values, all of them, research, professional, they're all important, regardless of what it is that we're doing. I agree with you, we need to make sure that we tailor them. I'll tell you why, for me, I think that we cannot just transport one set of values into another. In research, in science, one of the things that we emphasize is protecting participants. We are very risk averse in research. Whereas in innovation, we want to increase our risk appetite to take more risks. So then you have to adapt your set of values and your core values to align with that kind of space where people can be allowed to take risk. Failure needs to be to be embraced. Whereas in science, where we are talking about precision, oftentimes, yes, we fail, but failure is not really welcome. You want to make sure that there's no harm, you minimize that. So as long as we can have that understanding, then even as we repurpose, we don't necessarily harm anyone. And that's what I want to respond to Rashid's point about what is it that we need to do. I think if we are embracing innovation a lot more in our universities, it departs a little bit from what we are used to, which is mostly teaching, which is really the function of a classic university. And a second generation university does mostly teaching and research. A third generation university becomes more entrepreneurial. What we are asking for now is to actually become a fourth generation university, which becomes a lot more about innovation to advance socioeconomic and environmental development, which is what Africa needs. But if we are going to do that, it means we must work closely with industry, we must work closely with government, we must work closely with society. And we're not used to doing that. We are comfortable in our ivory towers. But then we need to actually then shift our strategy. And Rashid, I know your university, Mohammed VI Polytechnic, is designed very much towards that spectrum. But we need a little bit of more of that. For those of us who are traditional university, we're going to have to be creative in how we are going to incorporate that mission and that function. And that then also means that that innovation needs to translate into everything that we do, Michael, even in our curricula, to make sure that our objectives are to bring in the tools to assist, to enhance, to enrich, not necessarily to take away the learning attributes and learning objectives. And it can be done. People are creative. They get students to critique work that is being produced by AI to achieve the kind of thing that you're talking about. I'll pause there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Moshabela. Professor Kayihura.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all those that asked questions, but some of them are just topics of themselves that would require another session. I will choose to go for my friend from Morocco. How can Africa move from being the user but also the producer? I think if we assess it critically, now AI is going to help us in that, because now with AI, anybody, even amongst us here, you can create something, you can have a product. Give you an example, and this time with AI, there is no qualification, there is no age, anyone can become a producer of solutions to problems that are existing. I give you an example. 2 weeks ago, when we were holding our graduation, a student came to me and proposed to me a solution that he has come up with that will be helping me in my management, where most of the questions that I have, and this is very important because we often think of AI and we take it to class as though it is just limited there, but it is everywhere. We are supposed to embrace AI even in our management practices to become more efficient. And now this student was proposing to me a solution that he has come up with. He sat down and analyzed most of the questions, most of the issues that are being responded to by staff in management, and said most of these can be responded to using AI applications. And it was, well, I haven't gone through that, but he said most of these can be automatically responded to, and you gain your time, use it effectively for other important issues, and all these minor issues are handled. So this is a student proposing to me a solution. So at the end of it, if that works out very well, maybe it will be used elsewhere. It can even be used to those developed countries where, they haven't been having such. And so with AI, maybe it is one way that Africa now is going to also kind of work with others when it comes to production of knowledge and benefiting from it. The last one that I really want to acknowledge, which was submitted by the first panelist, and that has been repeated by many others, is about infrastructure. I truly agree, and without infrastructure, yes, Honorable Minister said all the revolutions have passed us, without infrastructure, without sufficient infrastructure, even this AI revolution, this AI era is going to go without our understanding. First, if infrastructure, laying it down, and I'm saying some of us are lucky that that infrastructure was laid even before we could now get into the AI. And if it is not laid, if electricity is not everywhere, no, it will be a song in the capitals and forgotten, I mean, never even known by the people in rural areas. So we need to really emphasize, maybe this is not for us as universities, it's for our governments, but it is very critical for any advancement if it is there to be. I rest it there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll close this session with the DVC of the University of Lagos.
Yes, I would want to briefly respond to how we can move from being not being a user to being a player. And I will say that the African continent actually is already showing promise in this area. If we look at fintech across Africa, we can see that the players in the fintech space, we've done a lot with that in Africa based on various solutions that now exist. And there are some AI-powered virtual assistants in the market now that are Africa-based. There's one called Kwame for Science, which I think was developed in Ghana, and it's being used by students in the West African sub-region who study for the O-levels, or what you call WAEC in West Africa, equivalent of the GCSEs, and it's being used for science subjects to teach, and the pass rate, according to results, has improved drastically. There's also one developed for mathematics. So there are various programs like that. And what we are talking about, the AI tools that will be available, will be AI tools that will be used to solve our problems. So when you look at our Greek, we look at some farms now that are being able to have AI tools that tells them the quality of their soil and what they need to put in to be able to have high yield. And I think if we continue to look at the problems we have and teach our students to be able to creatively think about these things and not just use AI to give them an answer that is not based on our own data sets, we will get solutions to most of the problems we have in Africa. So I believe that within the next few years, we will see that we are actually players in this space and not just users, especially because we have a very large population of intelligent and very creative youth. And the only thing we need to do is to be able to harness this population and direct them in the real area. The area of the issue of ethics have come in, which is very important. The issues of policies have come in, which is very important. And then the issue of how do we incorporate it so that students don't stop thinking creatively and critically. And I think it's just the way we handle how we deal with them in the classrooms. Give them problems to solve. And at the end of the day, when they discuss your solutions with them, you can tell them they can check what AI is saying about it. And once they see that they even are able to bring up superior arguments that AI did not bring up based on their own context, it gives them the confidence to think more and be able to solve such problems. So in teaching, we shouldn't be telling them what is AI saying. Let them think about it. Tell us the solutions, then they can check what the various chat boxes, Perplexity or whatever. And we should know that even as a tool, AI is also going to be able to help in issue of languages. And I know there are some tools already that are working on languages, African languages, to be able to teach, talking about also the culture. There are also tools being developed in Africa for that, So I think we should not really look at it as if we are not doing anything within this space, but to think of how we can harness what we are doing for ourselves so that we can move forward and be big players within this space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Oboh. Just a round of applause for our panelists.
Round of applause for yourselves.
We could not possibly do justice to a topic as important as this one in the limited period time that we had. But I hope you have understood the importance of ensuring that you train more people at every level on the ethical, responsible, and appropriate use of generative schemes. Thank you very much. This concludes our session.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for our panelists. Let's clap for them. Thank you. Thank you so much. Before you go, let's maybe first have a photo moment here before you go take back your seats. A photo moment here. The photographers will take it. Right. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. And thank you for being patient with us for this conference, the ARUA Conference 2025. We have had a change in our program. So immediately we are going to have our lunch. And immediately after the lunch, we shall come back here in the same room for our keynote address that will be given by Professor Patrick Okori. And then we shall start off with our parallel sessions, and we shall start off with our second parallel session. And the first one will start off at 4 p.m. This has been adjusted accordingly to support the program and the quick flow of our engagement here. So, ladies and gentlemen, coupons are going to be served and will be given to you by the ushers later on. But before that, let's put our eyes on the screen and have a highlight of what transpired yesterday during the board meeting that happened here with our vice chancellors. Also to note, we have a draw that is going on. There's a free iPad that is going to be given out from Astro Learning. So please scan the QR code there on the screen and also visit their booth to be able to participate in this. And that will be later on, we shall announce the winner later on immediately after the keynote address. So the technicians, please guide and give us the video of the highlight that happened yesterday as the vice chancellors were meeting in the council room here at Makerere University. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I believe the ushers are going to be guiding you towards lunch. But in the meantime, as we wait on for the ushers, I'm going to kindly request still the technical to give us more videos and highlights from the university and the different research projects that are happening within the university.